Hello, good evening. Let's do prime business now with me, Emma Davis. Government is expected to formally open negotiations with Eurobond holders and commercial creditors in London on Monday, January 21st. The engagement will target institutional investors that are holding these financial instruments. Government is seeking to restructure about $13 billion worth of debts as it is proposing up to 40% interest rate cut. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta admits this negotiation will be a tough one for Ghana.
You know, the bilateral, the stock of debt is about, what, 5.1 billion, which the Eurobond is about 13 billion or so. So maybe a third of it. The issue of comparability of treatment, you remember Zambia had a deal with the OCC, and then they were uncomfortable with the deal that they struck with their Eurobond investors. I think ours is a little different. The Eurobond investors have a lot more at stake than that. I think what we are going to gain is a sort of wind in our sails and just a momentum that the country is moving forward, has turned the corner, and therefore what is their part in making sure that with the sacrifices the country has made, with the flow program and the MPP hit that the bilaterals would do, what then is our part in that? I remember, I guess in December, October, I did tell the Eurobond investors that we are looking at about 25 to 40% cut. We'll work within that.
A lot of them who thought it was too steep of a cut.
Right, so then it sets a platform for us to negotiate. And what we have done with OCC would also help with that. What we did with Ghanaian domestic investors will also help. But I think we've created, an environment that really is conducive for discussions in a way that is ennobling. So I'm expecting that we will all negotiate in good faith, looking at the country coming back quicker than later. So it's a good time, it's historic, and we need to acknowledge that ours then, as a government, Ministry of Finance, is to work in good faith with these investors.
You tried to explain to me that, yes, the negotiations hasn't ended, even though there's been some preliminary deal reached with them. It means that you could still continue engaging them and maybe pushing further?
With regards to the OCC?
The OCC, yes.
Oh, definitely, because the memorandum of understanding has to be signed, and that then will encapsulate, issues that we need to think a bit more deeply about to make sure that it is successful. But we will at every turn, George, as you have seen, we have been victorious, and the country has moved forward, and that will continue. We have had discussions with Eurobond investors, some of the larger creditors, and there's goodwill. We'll continue to benefit from our forthrightness, the integrity that we have shown through this very difficult process.
When are you hoping to sign this MOU, or has it been done already?
No, it hasn't been done. We really hope that we would in the coming 2 weeks or so.
There's more on these issues on PM Express Business Edition this Thursday at 9 p.m. The Ghana Association of Banks has warned the public not to take photos of their Ghana card or any bank cards and share with persons purported to be working with a bank. According to the association, bank customers must desist from sending pictures of items that reveal identity numbers and bank accounts to prevent fraud and scams. Never send a picture of your Ghana card or any of your bank cards, such as debit, Visa, and MasterCard, via WhatsApp to anyone purporting to be working from your bank. If in doubt, contact your bank or relationship manager directly, the statement said. In recent times, there have been an increase in fraudulent activities in the financial sector, leading to loss of money. The Bank of Ghana has already directed banks to improve cybersecurity to curb the growing canker. The banks have also assured the public of tightening security to expose such acts. Ultimately, it is expected that the general public will be vigilant and also report such cases to the appropriate authorities. Now, beverage consumers should brace themselves for significant higher beverage prices in 2024. In a recent interview with Joy Business, Chairman of the Food and Beverages Association of Ghana, John Awuni, painted a gloomy picture for the beverage industry, citing crippling taxes as a driving force behind a projected 50% to 100% price increase in the first and second quarters of the year 2024.
My outlook is that it's going to be quite very, very challenging and very difficult for the industry, considering the fact that the government has gone further to compound the issues of the consumer, compound the issues of the business sector by first introduction of the carbon and emissions tax on businesses largely affected by ECG. ECG emits carbon, so ECG prices will go up because they will to bear those carbon emissions tax by themselves. You are aware that the tax on carbon is 100 cedis per ton, and so assuming you are emitting 10,000 or whatever number, you will multiply by 1,000 cedis. You are also very much aware that VAT has also been introduced by the government for the domestic consumers. And clearly that's going to affect the consumer, the income of the consumer, and will come back to employers to increase. And then also even coming back to the carbon emissions tax, we also have vehicle income tax that has been raised at 100 cedis, say that 100 cedis on each vehicle. And so the same companies that will pay the carbon emissions tax, largely the manufacturing sector, is going to be seriously affected. ECG will be affected as a company because they emit serious carbons. And then the manufacturing sector that have boilers will also be affected. So they will pay this carbon emissions tax. They will also pay taxes for the vehicles, the fleet of vehicles that they own. And so this all this is going to be transferred to the consumer. And then the issue of the corporate levy is still maintained in our tax books, and that is still going to be passed on to the consumer. We also have the growth and sustainability tax still in there, and that's still going to pass. The city has started sliding from 12 to 12.5 and going down, and that's going to affect business. Will now have to think about recovery rate, and those prices will go up, and that's going to be transferred to the consumer.
Still with businesses, the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry has urged its members to embrace value addition in their operations to stay relevant this election year. According to the chamber, engaging members on the numerous opportunities in the economy, despite its associated challenges, is critical to the sustenance of these businesses. There's more in this report.
The meeting offered an opportunity to members of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry to brainstorm and be strategic on how to stay afloat this election year. Explaining the rationale for the engagement, Greater Accra Regional Chairman of the Chamber, Nana Ejinim Boatin, said the meeting will position its members take advantage of the economic opportunities in the country and thrive despite its associated challenges.
Good opportunity for the private sector to also do what? Grow. That is, there will be more jobs, that is purchasing, there will be more contracts and whatever you can think of, product services that government will acquire, because government is the biggest buyer in the economy. And as such, this meeting is important for us to position our members to take advantage of that big appetite of government. So for us, today's meeting was to really dwell on value proposition. And value proposition is all about we preparing our members to differentiate their products and their services from the competition so that they will be able to take advantage of government's big appetite during every election year.
Professor of Finance at the University of Ghana, Professor Vera Fiado, said it is imperative for every business to know what kind of business model they run in order to stay relevant.
I think one of the key things is about what kind of business model you are running. Like we said in the presentation, a business is only successful when it can meet customer needs in a profitable manner. So if to be able to strategize, okay, strategy is all about how you intend to execute your aspirations for the coming season. So what is important first, and what are the aspirations, and what are they grounded on? Who are your customers? What do they really value? And how much are they ready to pay for that? If you have that kind of data, it makes it more easier to have some kind of strategy as to how to execute the plan. Because if you don't know who your customers are, nobody can produce a product that is for everybody. So key is, who are your customers? What do they really want, or what do they really need? For which reason you can curate your value proposition.
On his part, President of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Dr. Clement Sayamwako, stated that although the macroeconomic indicators are showing signs of recovery, government must be fiscally prudent to sustain the economic growth being recorded.
The year 2024 is going to be quite challenging, but we expect it to be better than 2023. We saw that the cost of funds have started coming down, and we have also realized that inflation is also dropping down. Now we need to work on the exchange rate, and we want to forecast that the exchange rate might not move far beyond 14. I believe that the exchange rate is fundamental because you need to forecast into the future with every business that you do. And so if you are able to know that it's going to run between specific margins, it helps you to plan your businesses. I see this year to be better. The only difficulty that I have is that because it's an election year, I don't know how government will prudently spend its money. But I'm glad the IMF has come to sit with us. And so nobody misbehave and, spend money on elections, etc. And I believe that if that is done and curtailed.
The meeting saw the introduction of new members.
Senior Manager with Accounting Advisory Services at KPMG, Stephen Birchie, is urging small and medium enterprises to set up operational policies that would safeguard their working capital. According to him, this would help small businesses to maintain their working capital and give them good credentials that will aid them in acquiring loans from banks and other financial institutions.
Limited access to capital. Because they are SMEs, they will not be able to raise capital on stock exchange and other big marketplaces. They resort in using friends' money or limited funds. Again, because they have limited funds and they are SMEs, they don't have track records that suppliers or banks can leverage or rely on to give them money if they want. And that has been a challenge. Even those that the big suppliers, when they are giving them money, because they don't have that capacity, they try to squeeze them. Another one has to be with fluctuations, seasonal fluctuations, because the SMEs, at times they can have a lot of demand, at times the demand will go down. And when that happens, it affects how they do things. If you cast your mind back even to COVID era, there are a number of SMEs that were not be able to operate because there were no business. Demand went down drastically. So then the next one also happened to be dependence on fewer suppliers and customers. When you have one or limited supplier, whatever the supplier says, that's what you do. And the limited, customers. And when there is a change in demand, or when the customer changes, moves from you, it becomes a challenge for you.
So we'll conclude because we have just a minute. Just give us some of the strategies that can help us effectively manage our working capital.
So I'll divide the strategy into two. One, general strategy and maybe specific strategy. One, if you are managing your working capital, you should have a policy in place. And you should assign roles and responsibilities to people who are you assigning to. Then they should ensure that the policies are being operationalized. Now, as I spoke about components of working capital management, so the strategy should be also aligned to each of them. So if you pick inventory, because of time. So if you pick inventory, you make sure that you assess the credit worthiness of your customers before you give it out.
Now, government says it is working to establish a refinery for manganese produced in Ghana soon. According to Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Samuel Jinapo, government, in collaboration with the Ghana Manganese Company, has kick-started engagements and processes to explore various avenues to add value to manganese in the country. He was speaking at the Ghana Chamber of Mines breakfast meeting.
Value addition generally. We are working around the clock to secure a London Bullion Marketing Association certification for our refineries established here in Ghana. We are also working with the Ghana Manganese Company to establish a refinery for the manganese we produce here in Ghana. We were in China last year, as you may be aware, and we've negotiated with the parent company of Ghana Manganese Company, TMI, for them to invest some $400 million United States dollars in constructing a refinery in our country and ultimately ensure that we no longer export our manganese in their raw form. And indeed, we also continue to work on local content and local participation through a periodic consultation with the Ghana Chamber of Mines, and as well as our quest to ensure that Ghanaian mining companies list on the Ghana Stock Exchange. And we take the view that it is only through the listing of mining operations or companies on the Ghana Stock Exchange that we can create here in our country indigenous participation in the mining industry of our country, which will ensure that whatever prosperity or profits arise out of this industry is shared and participated in by Ghanaians. And so we are working with the Ghana Chamber of Mines to have a situation where mining companies list on the Ghana Stock Exchange. That is how it was done in South Africa. That's how it's been done in China. That's how it's been done in Australia and Canada and the rest. These countries insist on the listing of mining companies on their various or respective national stock exchanges. And we want to do same here. But we want to do that in close collaboration with the Ghana Chamber of Mines so we don't disturb the investment climate in our country.
That'll be all for Prime Business tonight. I am Emma Davis. For more business news, do log on to myjoyonline.com. I leave you with international business.